I titled today's message from what Pastor just said concerning praying for the children. God's image bearers. These children are God's image. You do away with this generation, and we'll have no future to run with. Jesus made it clear. The children are never welcome in the society. You know, why am I saying this? I'm saying this to say that if the children were here, you will not have a quiet and a well-coordinated service. Noise here and there. You saw what they were doing. Some came out with biscuits, jumping here and there. But Jesus said in his word in Matthew 19, verse 14, he said, "Let the children come to me, for theirs belong the kingdom." So if we fail to train this generation, there'll be nothing to run with. We all know what the internet and where the world is taking us and tilting towards. Social media, phones, gadgets, and what have you, is still in the minds of our children. But I pray today that God will help us so that we'll recalibrate our mindset and go back to the drawing board to see how we can take care of our children. Media, please, can you help me? Let's look at Exodus chapter 1, verse 15 to 17. Exodus 1, 15 to 17. And I read, "And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of other Puah. And he said, When you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, see them upon the stools. If it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then he shall live." Verse 17. "But the midwives feared God, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved men, children alive." A child who must fulfill God's destiny can never be destroyed by the enemy. The fact that you have a destiny to fulfill, and this destiny is a good one, just like Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, "The thoughts that I think towards you are thoughts of good and not of evil, to give you what? A future and a hope, and not just a future, a bright future." So these children are image bearers of God's word. Don't treat any child around you with levity, even the ones that you are keeping as house help. Every one of them is special. That person you are seeing, that child you have brought to your house to help keep the house for you, is God's image bearer. If you treat them anyhow, you don't know what that child will become tomorrow. And you'll be too ashamed to go back to that child, because you cannot go back to your vomit. But children in the junior church say, "I love to tell stories a lot." Stories bring the teaching alive. You know, when you don't take care of this child and the child becomes maybe a governor's wife or the governor or president or whatever the Lord has assigned that child to be, and you have treated that child with so much cruelty, how would you go back to that child? Because no matter what happens, whatever you have seeded is there in the child's heart. The child may find it in his or her heart to forgive you, but the memory will still be there. It will always be there. So let's find time, or find in our heart, to see how we can take care of the children that God has given to us. Our biological children and the ones that are not ours, so to say. There's somebody in the church here, in fact, the way they picked, I don't want to mention him, the way they picked the child, and she has even graduated. When I saw her, I said, "Where are you?" She said she was 7. I said, God really has people that have large heart to take care of their children. May God continue to bless you. And if you have not known it before, learn it today. Learn it today. You never can tell. Sometimes your own children, your own biological children that you think may take care of you, may not be there. It's these ones that you have showed so much love that will reach out to you. So let's be careful how we treat the children that God has put in our care. Now, Pharaoh's calculations that Moses was going to die, from the scriptural readings we read, his calculation was that Moses was going to die. He orchestrated a diabolical arrangement with the midwives. And what happened? Because God had a better plan for him. Even the crooks in the river then couldn't access him because God's supernatural protection was all around him. I'm sure they saw, the bulrushes where he was kept as just one little basket that was flowing, and it was not going to be any form of meat to them. And they allowed it to flow. The same thing happens to the life of these children. Every day, speak concerning the child that God has given to you. It works. God's word works. God's word works. I'm not here to tell the story of my life, but he has proved himself over and over in my life. And I can boast anywhere that God has helped me to raise great generation. Now, the good news I have for you today is that God's plan for you supersedes that of any human entity. And same thing applies to the life of these children. We have been so carried away by the works around us, busy chasing after money, chasing after one thing or the other. And then most times we leave our children to themselves. Sometimes even the lesson teacher we claim we have employed, we don't even pay attention. They charge us heavily. You are there. Yes, my child, he has a good lesson teacher. But how much time do you go back to see what this child is getting? And over times, we've had situations of where some of these children are being abused sexually. So we have to be very, very careful and deliberate about the people we bring to our homes. We're not going to go into talking about sexual education in children's life and all of that. But start early. Watch people that are around you. It's those that are closest to you that even get to abuse these children. Because a stranger doesn't really know the pattern of the house, but the one that has stayed with you is the one that knows the in and out of how you move, and then they take advantage of, your timing, and they abuse your children. The boys are not left out. But most of the time, we keep looking, we keep talking about the girls. But do you know how many boys, male children, have been abused? So it's up to us. Let's sit up. Let's rise up to the challenge. Because God did not give these children to us that we should buy gadgets, put TV, the DSTV there for them to watch, just to engage them. No. You are the first custodian over the life of these children. Nobody will do your job for you. Growing up as children, our parents had all the time. But you see what is happening right now. The devil is trying to steal everything. You tell you that there's no money, there's no time. So you are busy chasing after the wind. And by the time you realize that you need to give attention to your children, it is almost too late. Sometimes it's even too late. So let's rise up. Now, every child of God must understand that they can ignorantly obtain God's plan for their lives. Eli's sons didn't do well. He was there in the house, but he never paid attention to his children. No wonder. And I'm still going back to those of us that keep house help. Samuel was there. God took him there for a purpose because the mother had made a vow to God that if you give me this child, I'm going to dedicate him to you. That she did. She kept to her vow. She kept to her promise. Have you realized that those children that stay with you, they are the ones we use the most? Go and wash plate for me. Go and do this. Go and do that. And your children are left to themselves. No, you will learn. You hire people everywhere that take care of these children. You are not helping them. You are not helping them. Hard work does not kill anybody. It never kills. So training them early will keep them ready for the future. They will go out there and they'll be able to contend with their contemporaries. But when they stay and they are not able to do anything, you send them, especially now that God has given a lot of us the privilege to go out to send our children out there. They go there and they are not able to make ends meet because you didn't teach them anything at home. So they find life very frustrating there. They are not able to pay their bills and see the dollar rate. Look at what is happening. So it's a child that has been taught how to work at home that will go out there and be able to do something and achieve great purpose in life. I pray that God will help us. Because the Bible tells us in Proverbs 22, verse 6, that we should train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. Their hands, just like a child talked about the ants. They don't have king, they don't have governors, yet they are able to gather food when there is plenty. But if you don't teach them, they will not be able to. You cannot give what you don't have. They don't see you working at home. So how will they work? You have hired a Sabe, Mary, and whatever to help you in the house. So they even go about commanding them. You know, these days you are taking a child to school, they'll say, my driver. You know? They'll say, my driver. And sometimes the way these children even treat the drivers is terrible. A driver will go to school to pick a child, and he's waiting there 30 minutes. They'll say, I'm coming, I'm playing football. Just wait a bit. I say, God. Hi. You know, God will help us. So check up what the kids are doing, their assignments, spiritual lives, social lives. The phone you have given them, do you really monitor what they watch? Most times you discover because we do not have family time or family circle anymore. Children have their phones and they are withdrawn. Do you know what they are checking? You don't know what you are watching. You don't know. A few weeks ago, we were privileged in my school to invite some team of doctors who came to talk. They were talking with the children, and along the line, they asked, okay, can we have a breakout session? From that breakout session, we got to know some of the children that were having issues. Every time you're in the sitting room, they are inside alone. Check it out. Something is not going right. Check it out. Those phones you are giving them, you have not done them good. And I remember when the doctor started to talk, she said, how many of you here do not have a phone? If you don't, just thank your parents when you go home. Thank them when you go home. It is not love. It is not love. We're exposing them to a lot of dangers out there. You don't know the apps. You don't know where they enter. You are there. You buy data for them. You don't know what they are doing. So please, let's take caution and retrieve our steps. Parents also suffer peer pressure. It's not only children alone that suffer peer pressure. Yes, they say teenagers, peer pressure and all of that. A lot of parents suffer peer pressure. Why am I saying this? You want to belong to a particular group of people. The school they are taking their children, you want to belong there. And then by the time they are going to pay school fees, your child is driven out. Your friends will not help you. It will, that man, that woman, she only followed us, and she cannot even see her. She can't even pay the child's school fees. So please talk to yourself. You are the God over your own life. Speak to yourself. Nobody is going to tell you. Most times when I go, I tell people, I said, it's only your bank account that is fatter than mine, but your money cannot intimidate me. I walk with my head high, because I will not come to you to ask me for any money. Whatever I eat, they said, sorry for this local adage, they said the lizard fell from an iroko tree. Nobody praised it, but he was able to nod his head and praise himself. So tell yourself, you know, so tell yourself the truth. Those circle of friends that you are keeping, are they beneficial? Are you gaining spiritual values from them? If they are not, cut off from them. Because on that day, nobody is going to speak for you. It is you and God, your maker alone, that will talk. Okay? And then, like I said, treat every child that comes your way. Saul treated David badly. Eli, he didn't treat David well. He was after David's life. I've talked about this before. Treat the children that are around you, the children that are in your home. Treat them very well. Peninnah did the same thing to Hannah. She didn't know Hannah was going to have a child. But the merciful God that had great plans and knew that Peninnah was his image bearer, he was able to open her womb, and she bore the child that God wanted her to. Naomi was also kind to Ruth. If she wasn't kind to Ruth, she wouldn't have followed the mother-in-law all the way, because she was going back as a embittered woman. She said her name was now Mara. Everything around her had gone dry. But she followed all the way. And that is the generation that you and I belong to today. So treat people right, okay? Mothers, remember that it is the child you favor that will be favored. Rebecca favored Jacob. Most times we have this attitude of this child. You even show the children get to know. You prefer child number 3. They can say it. I remember years ago, I had to do one X-ray. I told my children, okay, I think we crossed into the new year, and I told them that we're going to sit down, we'll talk about ourselves, the positive and the negative side. Hey, by the time they lashed me, I pitied myself that day. One of them said, Mommy, you said we should do this. You prefer David to me. And the way you treat him is this. I said, Jesus. By the time they finished, I sat down and I thought of it. I said, it's true. Oh, God, forgive me. But later, I sat down and I began to wait. It got to a point they couldn't even tell who I preferred because I had to work on myself. Then later they say, okay, it's Deborah because she's the only girl. If she asks for this, you give. I said, no. Now they don't even know because they are all equal. They are all equal. So let's try as much as possible to balance it. When you start showing preferential treatment to other children, they will understand it. And that thing grieves their heart a lot. Even when they grow up, Mommy never liked me. Daddy never liked me. May that be far away from us in Jesus' name. I pray somebody has been blessed today. Thank you so much.